All right, Francesco, you know, we're always talking about how the heart and the mind are different and they
Mm.
influence the way we act and how we operate.
Mm.
Uh, I like the idea of being heart centered as a perspective, and at the same time, we get very focused on being rational
Yeah.
and thinking about things from just an intellectual point of view and be more science oriented than we are uh, just centered with our essence that vibrates from the heart.
We're not trained to think from our heart. We've gone through a whole schooling. If you've gone through grade school and high school, and then you go into
It's
college,
actually suppressed.
it's suppressed. It's the academics by nature are
Mm.
to feed our intellectual mind, the rational mind. Be a good student. Your parents don't say you're a good student because you did good in basketball. They said you're a good student because you got an A on a science test.
Right.
So subconsciously, we've been fed that the right thinking is intellectual, logical thinking.
Yeah. Well, I think that gets us in trouble because look at what's happening in the world today. All the turmoil, the dystopian things that are happening, and we forget about the value of the relationships we have
Right.
and about love and connection and community and what we should be learning when we're learning as children is how to get along with each other first and to build community and to operate from a place where we're listening and caring and supporting one another.
We'd love that. I mean, that'd be ideal. That usually stops in kindergarten. I think
Well,
about
that's
it.
right.
Kindergarten is all about get on your binky and lay down and have a nap and be kind to each other. And that's all beautiful. I think kindergarten should last for about 10 years.
Yeah.
But then what happens is you go instantly into grade school and then you start doing sports and it becomes competitive.
Yeah.
So now
You're separating.
yeah, your whole idea of training interpersonal training is about competition. Are you on the winning team or the losing team? Did you score or not score this game? And there's nothing wrong with sports. I think it's very healthy, but
In its place.
in its place. But what happens is this kind of thinking, along with the academic emphasis, lets people think that it's okay to think that way about themselves and about their interpersonal relationships and ultimately about their healing and spirituality. And that intellectual mind is not the right mind to use in those cases.
Right. Well, how do we get centered into learning to appreciate ourselves as okay and actually love ourselves, not narcissistically, but in a way where we just appreciate the wonders of being human? I mean, that's what we really need. And if we operated that way, we wouldn't have the wars that we have. We wouldn't have the separation we have. It wouldn't be all the competition and adversarial stuff that comes to mind. Uh, so it's like we have to change how we teach our children.
And you have to unravel your own conditioning.
Yeah.
Because if you teach your children from the place of the conditioned mind, you're just propagating a generational, intergenerational programming. That's all it is programming. TV programs are programs.
Yeah.
We are programmed by everything that we see, hear, feel, and touch, which is sad. So we've got to first do the work on ourselves. So once we start acting more, I think it's about observation. So I observe, am I coming from my intellectual mind or am I coming from my heart in this decision, in this action, in this phone call I'm going to make to somebody, in this interview, right? This talk together.
Sure.
So you have to say, can I choose to be in heart resonance?
Well, what do you want? You know, what do people want and what do they need to be
Right.
successful human beings that are happy?
Right.
They need to be connected to one another. They have to operate from respect and love, of community. And that's what we crave, but we go about it in a way that undermines that.
Because of that deep conditioning. I mean, if you've had a lifetime of conditioning, we talked about a conditioning of the intellect, the judgment mind, the measurement mind, if that's what your orientation for thoughts are, you're going to apply it to everything you do. And on top of that, the competition mind, the competition survival mind, it's going to be very difficult to undo that. You have to be a conscious, awake person to be awake to when you're falling prey to your conditioning.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, because that means each person can do that. Because until we change that, we're feeding the intellectual judgment mind of the society. We're feeding the competition mind of the world around us.
It's dangerous because it can't lead to the development of community or of real, true love, where you're giving and sharing rather than taking. Because love is not for taking. Love is for giving. And when you feel that way, it's like you're in another dimension where you're connected to the oneness of what exists. And I don't think a rocket scientist or a dentist or a doctor or anybody who has achieved academic excellence is trained to be that way. And sadly, when the people that are supposed to be our healers, that are taking care of us, don't understand about healing, then you wind up with treating symptoms, doing it without being connected, of being authoritative. It's almost militaristic, where you know the answers and you're going to impose them on people. And what we need to be looking at is our spiritual wellness, because that's where disease starts. And if we don't pay attention to that, then we can't heal.
So describe spiritual.
It's our connection with all that there is. It's our ability to be centered and look at ourselves as an aspect of the universe rather than an independent piece, because it's that separation that takes away from our spirituality. Then we wind up being more reductionistic. We're looking at the separate nature of things. It's like we're built like a clock instead of like an aspect of humanity, not a part, but an aspect. It's a perspective of what the universe is. When you get in that frame of mind, it's so heartwarming and such a beautiful thing to be an aspect of something that's bigger than any independent person can be, because independence is not what we're looking for. It's taught to us. We're taught to be independent and competitive and adversarial. But it's the very opposite of what we crave as part of the human race.
But if we've been trained to be a survival entity, if we've been trained to say, be the best person you can be, fight for what you deserve, get a good grade in school, get a good job, make a lot of money.
Be better than everybody else.
Be better than everybody else.
Be number one.
You have a zero-sum game that you play.
You can't win.
And it's either going to be I win or I lose, or they win and they lose. So I want to win and I want them to lose. And that's a terrible way to go, because
there's no I in them.
No, and that's not how spirit works. So when we talk about real healing, we have to think about body, mind, spirit healing. We talk about that all the time. And a lot of people take it for granted. Oh, I understand body, mind, spirit. But
very few people.
But very few people live it. Because if you don't have those three components in your consciousness, obviously body is critical. But if body becomes everything, then you've lost the mind and spirit components of your healing.
Aspects of it.
Right? If you just focus on the mental part, then it's just a mind game, and that's going to be a judgment mind that is going to be trapping you into what's right, what's wrong, what is the right medication, what's the right protocol as a doctor. And then if you're just in spirit without the body and mind, well, then that's also a problem as well. So you can get there in some airy-fairy place where you're not in touch with reality. All three of these aspects are critical, but you've got to know what they are. And we've been so focused on the body and a little bit on the mind, we've neglected the heart, which is the spirit.
You have to be present in your whole essence, because when you are, then you find your place, which is everywhere.
Why is that hard for an average person?
Well, because we're not taught that. We're taught the opposite, to be independent, adversarial, and competitive. And what we need is to look at what we are, which is a reflection of the whole universe.
But doesn't that sound like such a big task for somebody who's just trying to raise their two kids and get through life?
In this culture, yes. But I think this culture has made serious errors because we don't respect what we are in terms of of being an aspect of everything.
So what is a person who has to work 9 to 5, has to get through the week, make enough money to pay the bills and hopefully have some left over, and do things that bring them joy? How does a person who's facing that onslaught of responsibilities even think about a spiritual component to the mind body?
Very difficult. So, in fact, we're not trained in spiritual lessons.
So what can the average person do? What's the first step?
Wake up.
So what's the first
step?
Look
around. Look at nature. And see how you feel when you're at a waterfall or a river, or you're in the mountains, or you're looking at a landscape, or watching the clouds. Yeah. And realize that everything you think and feel is connected to everything else. It's not separate, because you're only a perspective, an expression of the universe, but you are the universe.
Right. And that takes practice.
You have to realize that first. But that gets beaten out of us very early in life when they say, go to school and become a rich scientist, right, whether it's a rocket scientist or a doctor or whatever it is that you think is going to be successful. But success isn't about that. It's not about the things that you do. It's the way that you are and how you look at yourself as an expression of the universe. You know, the idea of the holograms, as above, so below, or as below, so above. It's really a manifestation of waking up to who you are.
And the majority of the world is asleep. And
we're trained.
We've been put to sleep.
We've been put to sleep.
And the great thing about knowing you've been put to sleep means you either are going to assume a victim mentality, and this world has suppressed me, and my mother has suppressed me, or my job has beaten me down, or a person has. That's a victim of being asleep.
Yes.
Other people can say, wow, I have somehow allowed myself to fall asleep to the fact that the body, mind, spirit are critical for my healing. And now I am choosing as a sovereign being to wake up.
Yeah.
And then it takes practice. That's why I teach Qigong and meditation. This is why you meditate, why we do things.
Life's a meditation.
Right. But you have to make it a practice. And I think when people have a personal practice, then they are unraveling the knot that's been tied around them that's locked them into sleep.
You have to let go of that. And there is an awakening process for sure if you do that, but you're trained from the start to suppress all that. You get what I call the 6-6 syndrome, which means you're up at 6,
right,
you come home at 6, you have dinner, spend a few minutes with the kids, you go to bed, and you get up and do that 5 or 6 days a week. That is living a life that is the opposite of what I would call being connected to nature.
Well, that's the 666 mark of beast.
Well, there you go.
You know, I mean,
it's that interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that is exactly, because that's like suicide. What do you get when you are in that mode of saying, I have to have a house, I have to have a car, I have to have a boat, I have to have other things.
Especially when you're told that's the right way to go.
That's what's defined as success by the vast majority of society. But it's actually quite the reverse. It's what you can give and share, not what you can take, because that's what love is about. Love is only for giving and receiving gracefully. Mm-hmm. It's not for taking. You can't take stuff like that. You have to give in order to feel the presence that you have. That's a beautiful aspect of what this universe is. And when you're in that frame of mind, wow, how things change. The whole essence of how you feel and how you act and how you interrelate to people. You want to build community. You want to be together. You want to fix the weakest link of your circle of friends, or of the world for that matter. This is the nature of what's offered to us if we just realize who we are.
Yeah, but it first starts with yourself.
Yes, but how you get that?
Practice.
When you're in it. Yes.
You have to unravel the conditioning.
Yeah.
And first, the hardest part is to accept that you've been conditioned. Because a lot of people say, nothing can condition me.
Right.
I'm my own person.
Ask Bill Gates about it. See what he'll tell you.
Right. Exactly. So we see a lot of the signs of us being conditioned from birth, and continue to be conditioned through the programming of the program of television and media and internet and being swayed to think we have to take sides.
How did you wake up? What awakened you in your journey?
For me, I have always had a sense not to trust what I hear and see.
Good.
You know, it just was is inherent in me that I always explored more than what somebody told me. And by pushing farther, by going inside, I realized I couldn't get good answers from adults as a kid.
No, because they don't know.
Right, and it hurt me because I thought they were keeping a secret from me, but they weren't. I realized
they didn't have the secret.
They were hard-working, middle-class people who were just trying to get by. And then when I went to the people who went to college and the professionals, they didn't have any better answers either.
No.
So then I just realized this is pushing it back on me, and that's okay.
That's necessary.
I have to look inside and say, what is my intuitive heart, mind telling me? And then I could act on that. And it started to work. That started to get me farther and better grades and better experiences in life. And I became freer and freer of the pressure, the peer pressure, right? That's what happens when we're young. Peer pressure is dangerous.
It goes right through life if you don't wake up.
Exactly. So whatever starts as that pubescent or prepubescent peer pressure will mirror the pressure you have when you're in your job and you're not saying what you should. And you're doing something that hurts you, but you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. So we're not supported really to be sovereign, independent, spiritual beings.
Take a look at the world.
Take a look at the world.
I mean, when you could convince young people to kill each other in wars, something's really wrong.
Yeah. But now we're at a place where people are starting to wake up, or they have a desire to wake up. They're coming out of that place. It's like when you first wake up in the morning, you know, the sleep of the body, you're waking up and you're just getting into the waking up mode, and it's blurry, but you know you have to get ready for the day. This is where we are on a spiritual level right now.
I think that's right.
Right? There are more and more people at that moment, that pre-dawn, pre-awake state where they're saying something is not right. I can't stay in this sleep, the dream state, too long. I've got to go into an active place of being. And if everyone can help support each other in a loving way, that means don't judge another person when they're sick.
You can't judge them till you walk in their shoes.
Exactly. And so the practice is to be empathetic, which is the definition of being in another person's shoes. To say, wow, we're all in this together. We are all in this together. And once we realize that, that is the essence of the fabric of community.
Yeah.
And
it's about loving one another. It's about loving yourself first in a healthy, non-narcissistic way, and then sharing that. And when you do, the returns on that effort are, which isn't really an effort, it becomes an inspiration.
And it might not be easy because you might not get the feedback you want.
Well, it's different.
Right. A lot of times you'll be that person who takes the high road, and the feedback from another person or a group of people might not be what you want. That doesn't stop us. The people who choose to be awake say, I will do it for me because it's my integrity at stake. It's what makes me feel right. And if you do that long enough, other people around you, what'll happen?
Well, you'll build community if you feel that way.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about.
And people, I think, need leadership. And the leadership comes from each of us who are willing to lead from the heart. And that is what a true leader does. And doesn't look for the outside result. And if we go back to the beginning of the conversation, the engineers and those people are goal-oriented. Right? I've got to get a degree. I've got to
It's all about them.
job. It's all about them, and I've got to get to the point.
It's a contest.
It's a contest with themselves. And that is the most painful thing when you're in competition with yourself. When your intellectual mind is competing with the heart mind, that's the source of war, because the war starts in each person's inability to merge that heart and mind into a unified singularity of being.
Just take a look at the world today and see what you think.
So don't blame the world.
No.
Blame.
You're the only one who can solve that problem, and it starts with you.
Each of us is the opportunity to transform the world. The world we view is dependent on the worldview we carry. So the worldview we have creates the world we view. And it's so simple. It's like so common sense that we miss it. But that's why we're talking. So we can say, come back to this heart mind and trust that it's okay. Even when it doesn't seem to get you the results you wanted, stay on it and stay on it and stay on it. And pretty soon you're going to be a model, and people are going to come to you and say, you know what? It's not worth fighting. It's not worth complying. Maybe this is okay.
Amen.
Amen. And a woman too.
Bravo.